Have you been struggling to hit your shots in Valorant? Maybe your mechanical aim isn't something you practice and honed. You come from something that is not an FPS shooter. Maybe you come from a different game altogether, something like Overwatch or Fortnite, and your mechanical aim just doesn't seem to transfer. Regardless of your personal background, it's never too late to start honing your mechanical aim. And in this video, I'm going to be giving you tips and tricks on how to improve your aim so that by the time Valorant makes a full release, you're going to be nutty mechanically. Now, if you like Valorant content, I'm going to ask you for a big favor for you to smash that subscribe button. Please, just smash it right there. We would definitely love for you to become part of the Game Leap community. Now, without further ado, let's just jump right into it, shall we? So the first thing that you need to do before anything else, you need to find an appropriate sensitivity. Now, this is exceptionally true if you come from different games like Fortnite, Overwatch, or just non-FPSs. You need to be able to find that perfect sensitivity that gives you enough control of your crosshair while still allows you to make these really high impact 180s and 90-degree turns. While in many of those other games that I talked about, being able to 360 at the speed of sound is useful. It's not very useful in a game like Valorant. Most professional hit-scan players will play at a relatively low eDPI, which is your DPI dots per inch multiplied by the in-game Valorant sense. Typically, low eDPI are mainly ARM aimers. You're not going to find people that just twitch their wrist and it flicks them across the screen. It's mainly people that have bigger mouse pads and they control their cursor by moving a mixture of their arm and their wrist. To give you an idea of some of the top players and their current eDPI, I grabbed 4 stats from some of the top streamers and players. Brax has a eDPI of 184 with a DPI of 400 and an in-game sense of 0.46. Shroud has an eDPI of 351 with a DPI of 450 and an in-game sense of 0.78. Summit has an eDPI of 188 with a DPI of 400 and an in-game sense of 0.47. Very close to what Brax's was. And then last but certainly not least, Hiko with an eDPI of 560, DPI of 1600, but an in-game sense of only 0.35. Now, while at first glance these seem pretty far away, and they actually are, you gotta understand that if you compared it to a game like Fortnite or Overwatch, even Hiko would have a low sensitivity. All these players have a reasonably low sensitivity, while some players go lower than the spectrum norm, and some players go higher than the spectrum norm, such as the comparison between Brax and Hiko. Now, that being said, can you have a high sensitivity if you play this game? Yes, of course you have. I've met tons of top tier hit scan players that have a high sensitivity, but the vast majority, and I'm going to say like 95% or more, have an eDPI relatively around this ballpark that I gave you from Brax to Hiko. That's the majority, and that's where you'll find the majority of players. Now, while I wouldn't suggest you to copy any sense, you need to notice what is the differences between your sense and some of the people that I listed above. Is your sense 2 times, 3 times, 4 times as much as their sense? If that's true, and you're having trouble actually flicking to your target, tracking your target, or having minor crosshair correction, then you probably have way too high of a sense for this game, and I would definitely suggest you revisit it soon. Now, the best way to find your perfect sense is the PSA method. Go search it up, Google it, or YouTube it. PSA method is a tried and true method that can help anyone find their true sense, but it does take some time to do, but it's 100% worth it. I'm not going to cover it in this video, but I would definitely suggest if you are not confident that your sensitivity is good for you, go check it out. Lastly, and here's the most important thing when trying to find your new sense. Sensitivity takes time to develop muscle memory. You cannot just swap to a new sense and then all of a sudden you're playing 100% better or hitting headshots instantly. You find a sense that gives you the tools to perform well, and then you build up muscle memory over time. Try not to switch your sensitivity every day or multiple times every week. It's very bad for improvement and developing that muscle memory. Now, moving on to the next tip that I have to give you is you need to give yourself the proper tools to perform. So the proper tools in question would be your monitor and your gaming mouse. Please, for the love of our deity Tencent, do not use a TV for your monitor and don't use your grandmother's old mouse from 1990. You need to be trying to rock 144 FPS on a 144 Hz monitor. While this is not going to make you a god overnight, it will make it easier for you to practice and play and will feel much better. In my personal opinion, it's an essential piece in any player's toolkit who wants to take Valorant or any FPS seriously and wants to improve. You need a 144 Hz monitor at least. Now, you need a quality gaming mouse, a good sensor, decent weight towards your liking, and a size that you feel comfortable with. There are so many mouses to choose from that are extremely cheap. You can easily find a quality one for a very cheap price. It's just another tool in your toolkit as far as aiming and improving. Now, let's move on to the bread and butter section. Now that you have a good sense, good mouse, good monitor, How do you actually start clicking heads? How do you start aiming better? So firstly, I would suggest you practice in the training room every day. The Valorant training room, before you play any games, definitely practice. Try to be consistent. Play every time. You could play the time bots mode, switch it up to medium and hard difficulty. Practice your aim. Make it a routine to practice your aim every single time before you go into a game. Warm up that muscle memory, become more consistent, and try to practice. This will help you build up that 1, consistency, and 2, muscle memory. It's very important. Now, if you want even more in-depth forms of practice, I would highly suggest Kovac Aim Trainer. I know that it costs a certain amount of money on the Steam store, but it's far and away the best tool if you want to improve your mechanical aim, in my opinion. They have tons of courses that will help you build up reaction times, and that will help you practice multiple types of aiming, like flicking and tracking, pressure reaction, and things like that. That being said, there is no amount of practicing against bots that will 100% prepare you for what's in-game and how to aim in-game. There are 2 important factors that can mess up anyone's aim in the game of Valorant: movement and pressure. Movement, because your own movement can negatively affect your aim. I mean, I know that every single player knows that. If you are running across the map and you're not holding shift or anything like that, you're not shift walking or you're not pressing shift before you fire, you will just not hit anything. And if you're using an op, if you're trying to walk and snipe, you're just not going to hit anything either. This is all things that you need to learn how to counteract. Movement is something that you have to heavily learn, and no matter how many bots you can shoot in the training room, if you don't practice your movement along with that, you're still not going to be able to perform in game. On top of that, pressure is a big one because it hurts your movement and your aim in a way that can't be replicated in training, because you don't care if you die in training because you can't die. You have no reason to try to move, and you have no panic set in you. You have no pressure to hit your shots because you're not going to die, but in an actual game, there is pressure to hit your shots. If a Raze is running at you with her rocket launcher, you bet you're going to have pressure. But that's the same way if you ever get peeked. Your movement can be messed up. Your aim can be messed up because of that pressure. So this is why the only true way to improve all aspects of your play, after all the other factors that we talked about, is actually playing as many games as possible, real games inside Valorant. At this point, all the tools should be in place and your aim practice for play should be maximized. You will improve much smoother because all this stuff's in play, and the time you're spending in game will be much more honed and actually help you improve much faster because your muscle memory is already warm, you're already warmed up, you have a good mouse, you have a good monitor, all these factors, you have a good sense. All these things really, really matter, and it's going to help you improve much faster when you're actually playing the game. Now, when playing and trying to improve, here's some general tips to help you improve the quickest. 1, try to play every single day if you can. Now, I know that this is hard for everybody, but what I'd suggest is never try to go a whole day without at least practicing some of your mechanical aim. If you ever play one day and you're popping off, you're warm, you're good, and then you go 4 days without playing, and then all of a sudden you jump back in again, and you're missing a lot of the shots that you were hitting before, you're gonna have a whole bunch of rust. And unless you break that rust off, you're not gonna be able to perform or improve very well, because you need no rust in order to actually start improving. It's like your rust wraps around your skill set, and until you actually break that rust off, none of the time you're spending is actually improving your aim. If you play every day, it will prevent a lot of rust from forming on you, which means your practice time will be more efficient. On top of that, the more hours that you play in peak performance a day, the faster you will improve day after day. So really keep that in mind. Now, last but certainly not least, you need to try to create consistency in your setup pre-play. Don't grossly change your posture. Don't move your mouse all across. Your start position needs to be the same, which is the start position of your mouse. Try to keep your chair height the same, the distance from your desk, the lighting, on and on and on. It's all about consistency. Keep things consistent so that every single time you want to play, you have less things to adapt to each and every time. Consistency is the key here, because then all the time you're spending playing will be just helping you improve, and you won't have any other extraneous factors preventing you from improving. Now, if you found this video even the least bit helpful, do me a favor and smash that subscribe button. We're going to be pumping out tons more videos, so jump right on and come part of the Game Leap community. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or you just want to roast me, please do it down below. And if there's any videos you want to see, let me know so I can jump right on it. Anyways, that's all we got for you today. I'm Coach Mills, and until next time.